changed. But with modern day computer technology, we can sort of rewind the night sky to the time as it was back then. And he determined that was 10,200 BC, when the light on both the winter and the summer solstice would actually line up exactly on both ends of that slab. So clearly we have another connection to the stars, a celestial bridge, so to speak. And you know, Franz said this is the oldest part of the temple, which means far back, maybe 5,000 years or more. These people were watching the stars. They were looking for something. They were hoping for something. Maybe they were waiting for the return of the gods. The old question remains, which gods?
Right. While excavations of ancient sites continue throughout Malta, many scholars agree that the archaeological wonders found both above ground and below provide an unparalleled glimpse into the planet's earliest human societies. And as far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, Malta holds the secrets of a profound past that we've only begun to uncover.
When you put all the pieces together of what we see in these temples on Malta, the engineering knowledge that was required, the astronomical knowledge that's encoded within them, and you realize you're dealing with a primitive time, someone had to have brought it from somewhere. Who were these beings? If we can ultimately answer this question, it's going to lead to a revelation of perhaps some of the greatest mysteries of all of human history.
Malta is one of these islands which is not understandable. Why on such a small island so many temples? I think they were extraterrestrials. They were a race of giants. The reality is we are just one of the intelligent species in the universe. There are many other species. Extraterrestrials were here 1,000 of years ago. Extraterrestrials are here today. We are under observation.
Is it possible that Malta was once home to giant beings who were part human and part extraterrestrial? And might the most extraordinary evidence of all lie hidden in some ancient underground chamber, still waiting to be discovered? Perhaps the latest excavations on Malta will lead to the profound revelation that the island's megalithic temples serve not as monuments to the gods, but to our alien origins. Massive megalithic structures built thousands of years ago. Advanced engineering knowledge that defies conventional explanation, and a nearly identical architectural style found all over the world. For more than a decade, Ancient Aliens has traveled the globe to explore the most incredible pyramids ever discovered. Now, we're going to visit the top 10 pyramid sites that just may hold the proof that Earth has been visited by extraterrestrials. Pyramids are some of the most mysterious ancient structures on the planet. And while they are most often associated with Egypt, they can actually be found all around the world. But are they merely incredible feats of engineering? Or could they be direct evidence of our extraterrestrial ancestors? When I think of all the amazing pyramid sites we've investigated on Ancient Aliens, one of the most compelling is a structure in modern-day Mexico that was actually designed to commemorate an otherworldly visitation. At number 10 on our list of the top 10 pyramid sites, El Castillo. The Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico. Hidden in the dense jungle lies the ancient Mayan city of Chichen Itza. And standing at its center is a massive step pyramid believed to have been built sometime between the 9th and 12th centuries AD, known today as El Castillo. Made of limestone blocks and standing almost 100 feet tall, the pyramid is thought to represent a calendar, with each of its 18 terraces commemorating a month in the Mayan year. But its most interesting feature can be found on the massive central staircase.
Castillo is a stepped pyramid with some outward radiating staircases in each of the sides of the building. And these staircases have big high balustrades on them. And at the base of the balustrade are these big carved snake heads carved in stone.
El Castillo was built to venerate the Mayan god known as Kukulkan, or the feathered serpent.
There were traditions in ancient Mexico of a great teacher arriving on the Gulf Coast. He was said to be Kukulkan, which translates as the plume of feathered serpent. When he arrived, he brought with him the arts of civilization. He taught astronomy, created the first calendar. He also taught agriculture, and eventually he left, promising to return. And was often depicted as a human being as well.
Kukulkan is depicted in serpent form on either side of the central staircase of El Castillo. Twice a year, during sunset and sunrise, an optical illusion appears on these stairs. Every year, on the 23rd of March, you see, when the sun is going up, some lights and shadows, like triangles, climbing down the stairway, exactly the stairway where his head is on. And on the 21st of September, you see the opposite. Kukulkan disappears.
What we have here is a visual rendition of the descent of Kukulkan, the descent of extraterrestrials visiting this pyramid structure known as El Castillo.
You wonder, perhaps a craft landed here, and this light shadow effect of a serpent making its way descending down the staircase and then emerging through a serpent head is a recollection of that original event. If you leave Chichen Itza and travel 900 miles due west through the jungles of Mexico, you'll find another incredible site known as Teotihuacan. 3 massive pyramids stand at the center of this temple complex that have a direct connection to the stars. Number 9, the pyramids of Teotihuacan in central Mexico. Just 35 miles northeast of Mexico City lies an ancient complex dating back to at least the 1st century AD. The site covers an area of 7 square miles and was once the largest city in Mesoamerica, with a population of over 150,000.
The city of Teotihuacan was the largest and most powerful city that Mesoamerica ever saw. At the city core, which is the Avenue of the Dead, the first big long straight road, they build the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. Both of those are gigantic pyramids, and also on the Avenue of the Dead is the Temple of Quetzalcoatl.
While the origins of the site have left archaeologists baffled, the Aztecs, who occupied the area around 1400 AD, are credited with giving it the name Teotihuacan.
The name Teotihuacan means birthplace of the gods. And the Aztecs believed that the gods themselves were born there at Teotihuacan. And the Aztecs talk about the many gods coming down to earth and creating humans.
If you have stories of people descending from the sky, and our ancestors also called them the gods, you have to wonder, well, who or what did they mean when they said the so-called gods? Were our ancestors visited by flesh and blood extraterrestrials whom our ancestors thought were divine in origin when they never were? Do the pyramids of Teotihuacan hold secrets of extraterrestrial visitation? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and they believe that that the pyramids standing at the center of the city point directly to the origins of these visitors, the constellation of Orion.
The Temple of the Sun, the Temple of the Moon, and the Temple of Quetzalcoatl are in the same layout as Orion's belt, and this is not coincidental. The Mayans are very specific about Orion's belt. They say it is a point of creation. It is said that in 3114 BC, the gods came from Orion's belt to Earth, and this occurred in Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan, despite its size, has no hieroglyphs whatsoever. There are other cultures in Mesoamerica that were using writing systems. There's nothing like that at Teotihuacan. So you don't really have a clear history of what happened at Teotihuacan. In many ways, Teotihuacan is an enigma.
The next site on our list was home to a prolific culture that constructed over 250 pyramids nearly 600 years ago. What's most amazing to me is that the ancient people who built these incredible structures claimed that they received help from otherworldly beings. Number 8, the Sican Pyramids of Peru. The Lambayete Valley, northern Peru, 1988. Explorer Thor Heyerdahl investigates what appears to be an area of large earthen hills, but soon discovers that these hills are, in fact, massive adobe brick pyramids, severely eroded over the centuries.
This was the site of a culture called the Sican, and these people who rose around 750 AD seem to be absolutely obsessed with the creation of pyramids. In fact, they created as many as 250 within this valley alone. And in one particular town they created 26.
According to mainstream historians, the Sican people mysteriously disappeared in 1375. And although there were no written records left behind to explain why they were obsessed with building pyramids, ancient astronaut viewers say clues may be found by examining the multiple images of birdmen that archaeologists have discovered inside one of the structures.
The Birdman image is something that's iconic of depicting someone who can come from the sky. So these glyphs that are seen on the walls of these structures are particularly interesting.
Gods depicted as half bird and half man were worshipped by many pyramid-building civilizations in the ancient world, including the Egyptians, the Mayans, the Aztecs, and even the Sumerians, who built pyramid-like structures called ziggurats as much as 6,000 years ago.
You have to wonder if these birdmen are extraterrestrials coming to Peru and instructing the people on building these pyramids.
Many of the pyramids we've investigated on ancient aliens were constructed so long ago, no written records exist to explain who built them or why. But the pyramid builders at one location in Guatemala actually carved a story of an otherworldly visitation in stone. Number 7 on our countdown of the top 10 pyramid sites, El Mirador. Northern Guatemala, 1979. Western archaeologists began excavation of a site that was mysteriously abandoned in 150 BC, known as El Mirador. It is not only the oldest Mayan city, but the largest, covering more than 14 square miles.
The central part of El Mirador has two gigantic pyramids that are connected by a big causeway in between them. One's called El Tigre, the other one's called La Danta. La Danta is 70 meters tall. That's one of the tallest in the entire world. And it's so massive that when you get to the top of its first basal platform, there's enough space space where they put 3 more pyramids in a triad form on top of it.
But perhaps even more intriguing than the size and scope of the pyramids at El Mirador is an ancient stucco facade that was found between them, which according to ancient astronaut theorists provides an important clue about the origins of these structures.
The archaeologists at El Mirador were investigating the causeways and the aqueducts between the 2 big pyramids. They came upon a stucco facade that showed figures floating in the air. The archaeologists interpret them as the hero twins from the Popol Vuh. Now, the Popol Vuh is foundational to Maya civilization and life, as foundational as the Bible is to Christianity. The story of the Popol Vuh really centers around 2 boys, a pair of twins they call the hero twins, Hunahpu and Shivalanka. And they battle with the lords of death, and they make the world safe for creation, us, to occur.
According to the Popol Vuh, this battle some suggested that the word Chivalva doesn't necessarily mean underworld, but the Milky Way. If you look at that carving, the guy is clearly wearing a helmet and he has this backpack and he's actually floating in space, or he's descending from the sky.
You have what seem to be like some kind of helmet. For these stone carvings, the depictions of ancient astronauts. And you have to wonder if this pyramid isn't some kind of landing site for extraterrestrial craft.
You might be surprised to learn that one of the oldest pyramidal structures on Earth is in a place that has never been associated with pyramids. My own ancestral homeland of Greece. Number 6 on the countdown, the Pyramid of Ellinikon. Argos, Greece. Just outside this ancient city stands a mysterious stone structure known as the Pyramid of Hellinikon. It is the only pyramid in Europe recognized by mainstream archaeologists.
The Pyramid of Hellinikon is quite small. It's maybe only 23 feet by 30 feet by maybe 12 feet tall, but it's incredibly interesting. Some people suggest that was maybe a watchtower, or a guard tower, or a small garrison. We don't really know what it was for, what its purpose was, and even more controversial is the dating of it.
The Pyramid of Ellinikon is one of the most enigmatic ancient structures on planet Earth. Why? Because according to some archaeological research, it dates to before the Great Pyramid at Giza. In 1995, scientists working at the Academy of Athens dated samples from the site using a new and experimental method called optical thermoluminescence. The results suggest that the pyramid was built around 2730 BC, roughly 2,000 years before the rise of the Greek Empire.
This was a structure that is very mysterious. It was constructed by a completely unknown culture. We know almost nothing about it. And what we do know, though, is that there were several of these structures around. So who built them and what happened to them?
There were 15 other pyramids like this found in the area. Most of these are now completely destroyed. So we have to question who really built this. When you think of pyramids, you think of Egypt, you think of Central America, you think of India, but pyramids in Greece? We have to ask the question, why has that shape been with us for such a long time? And I think that the knowledge for building these megalithic structures was imparted by the so-called gods who were misinterpreted flesh and blood extraterrestrials. halfway through our countdown of the top 10 pyramid sites featured on Ancient Aliens. In 2018, I traveled to Egypt and visited the next location on our list, which was designed by a remarkable individual who was said to have a profound connection to the stars. At number 5, the Step Pyramid of Djoser. Saqqara, Egypt, located just 15 miles south of the Giza Plateau, is an ancient burial ground of Egyptian royalty. Among the many tombs stands what mainstream archaeologists suggest is the oldest pyramid in Egypt, the Step Pyramid of King Djoser. The Step Pyramid at Saqqara is known as the Stairway to Heaven. The complex is vast. It's about 40 acres, entirely walled-in. There's a 30-foot wall with 13 false doors. You only get in if you know where the right door is. Mainstream archaeologists suggest the pyramid was built as a tomb for King Djoser. But like all other Egyptian pyramids, there is no credible evidence that a body was ever entombed there. In April 2018, ancient astronaut theorist Giorgio Tsoukalos traveled to the Djoser pyramid with Egyptologist Rami Rahmani to get an up-close look at the mysterious site.
Now, this pyramid is 5,000 years old.
That's amazing. Did they ever find a mummy in there?
No, they never found the actual mummy in there. But they found statues, and there is a statue next to it, still there, of King Djoser. It's a human life-size statue.
Okay. And how many chambers are inside this pyramid?
There are a couple of chambers, but the pyramid is such a maze to go in and out from that they have not discovered everything inside yet, because it's not the safest place to be now.
While the Djoser pyramid has been weathered by time, mainstream archaeologists believe when it was built in the 27th century BC, it was the most impressive structure in Egypt. The 6-tier, 4-sided structure originally stood 205 feet tall, with a base measuring 358 feet by 397 feet. And unlike other buildings of the time that were constructed entirely from mud bricks, the Djoser pyramid was built using 11.6 million cubic feet of stone and clay, and it was covered in polished limestone, most of which is gone today. In the text that we can read about Djoser, does he mention at all how he was inspired to build this?
There was one brilliant man. That man was called Imhotep.
Okay.
In history came out of nowhere. He was the designer and the engineer of that pyramid.
What does Imhotep actually mean?
It means, I know you're gonna like this, it means I come in peace.
Oh, really? That's very interesting. So the extraterrestrial greeting, so to speak.
Yes. He showed up into the life of the king out of nowhere, and then ascended into positions so quickly, which is very uncommon in ancient Egypt.
What does that mean? What do you mean out of nowhere? Did he drop from the sky, or did he come from another land?
In Egyptian history, you can normally trace every position back to their parents, but Imhotep, nothing.
Imhotep rose to the incredible status as the vizier or wizard to the pharaoh. This is where we get that word wizard from, vizier. There are great mysteries about who Imhotep was, where he came from.
He had an incredible knowledge of medicine. He had an understanding of blood circulation. He did the first dentistry, may even have performed operations. He was also an astronomer, had an incredible knowledge of the stars. But most incredible of all is the fact that it said that the knowledge of how to create the earliest pyramids actually came from a text that fell from the sky out of nowhere and came into the hands of Imhotep.
What's fascinating is the depictions of him. He looks like he's got this oversized head. He's got strange-looking hands. He almost looks non-human. Do we know how long he lived?
That is also a mystery. We don't know how he died, but he was buried in the tomb. And that tomb was around here in Saqqara. The tomb in Imhotep has never been found so far. Right? So far. But look around you, the desert is massive. When the tomb of Imhotep is discovered, it will be the discovery of the century.
Ancient astronaut theorists are hopeful that if the tomb of Imhotep is ever discovered, it might be found to contain the remains of an otherworldly visitor. But perhaps even more compelling evidence of an extraterrestrial connection to ancient pyramids can be found in a series of key structures in China that, according to some researchers, may hold remnants of alien technology. China is a treasure trove for the ancient astronaut theory. Its mythology is rich in stories of otherworldly beings and is home to some truly incredible relics. But what many people don't know is that China is also home to dozens of pyramids, all of which were completely unknown to the outside world until the 1940s. At number 4 on our countdown, the hidden pyramids of China. Shaanxi Province, China, 1945. U.S. Army Air Corps pilot James Gaussman is transporting military supplies from India. While flying over a rural valley, he spots a mysterious structure.
One of the most unusual stories of pyramids came out of World War II. The story is of an American pilot who was flying the Burma Hum over to Chongqing in central China. And what he claimed he saw was a huge pyramid in the valley with a gigantic crystal capstone on the top of it. He was so amazed by this huge pyramid in this remote valley that he flew around once with his plane. This pyramid has never, ever been discovered since then.
2 years later, another U.S. aviator, Colonel Maurice Sheehan, spotted what appeared to